Prologue. About 9 months have passed since the final Splatfest. Twilight lowers its curtain on Inkopolis. Neon signs paint the dusk in brilliant shades of green and pink. The Squid sisters dance on, as though driven by the inkling love of battling for turf. Memories such as these linger, vividly etched in my mind, but feel too like remnants of a long-forgotten past. It happened the night the final Splatfest came to an end. The showdown of Callie versus Marie ended in victory for Marie, but there was no ill will between the two. The girls left the studio arm in arm, smiling and laughing as they always had. The bond between them would continue, unbroken, for years to come. Or so it seemed at the time. Chapter 1. The final Splatfest rocketed the Squid sisters to new heights of popularity. Callie and Marie went from mere Inkopolis idols to the biggest stars in Inkling society, seemingly overnight. Their days became filled, from dusk till dawn, with the duties of this newfound fame. Callie and Marie still lived in the first apartment they rented upon moving to Inkopolis. It had all happened naturally when they'd first arrived. Being roommates made adjusting to city life easier, and besides, the two had been inseparable since they were young. But even after their finances had stabilized and they'd gotten used to the bustle of Inkopolis, they never gave a thought to living apart. They were always together, both at work and at play. After releasing their first solo recordings, though, their work began to take them down separate paths more frequently. Callie, true to her outgoing nature, began to make guest appearances on variety shows. Filming would also continue late into the night, and many days she didn't return home at all. Marie received critical praise for her recordings of Tide Goes Out and became a frequent guest on music shows, in addition to performing live concerts on her own. Up to this point, whether heading out for the day or coming home at night, the two had always been together. Now, though, their different schedules meant they didn't see each other as often, even on their days off. They spent more and more time apart with each passing day. Chapter 2. Marie was home alone. She'd gotten a day off, but with theater rehearsals starting up next month, she knew life would be returning quickly to its frantic pace. Chances to relax at home like this would soon become few and far between. Knowing work would keep Callie out late, Marie busied herself with the chores that always seemed to pile up and waited for her friend to return home. At times like this, Marie's thoughts always seemed to drift. How had Callie truly felt when the results of the final Splatfest had been announced? She seemed disappointed, of course, but that was just because she'd lost, right? Or was she actually jealous of my rising popularity? Could she still be holding it against me after all this time? Just listen to yourself, Marie. You're overthinking this. You know Callie would never feel that way. Maybe all this worrying is actually giving you some sort of superiority complex. Maybe winning that final Splatfest has made you full of yourself. The very idea stung Marie with a twinge of self-loathing. Chapter 3. One day, Callie was awakened by a call on her cell phone. It was her manager. The recording session she'd scheduled for that day had been delayed to accommodate a different performer. Callie found herself a bit thrown off by this unexpected break, but was determined to make the most of it. Looking around the apartment, she saw no sign of Marie, which was odd. She was sure Marie had the day off as well. It was just past 8 in the morning, too early for Marie to have gone shopping. Callie decided to get dressed and head out in search of her roommate. Now that she thought about it, Marie had seemed a bit down lately, like there was something on her mind she couldn't stop thinking about. Maybe she was just tired from working too hard, or maybe something had happened to upset her. But worrying about her all day won't fix anything, Callie thought. Work had barely given her time to breathe lately. She'd been feeling a bit lost at sea herself. She made up her mind to find Marie and invite her out for a day of much-needed relaxation. Callie found Marie at a cafe with Krusty Sean. They were seated at a table chatting away. Perhaps it was because their hometowns were so close to one another that Callie and Marie both found Sean so easy to talk to. Marie had been a bit shy when they had first come to the city, after all. Callie couldn't remember the last time she'd seen Marie talking so cheerfully with anyone beside her, and she didn't want to spoil their fun. She decided to head back to the apartment alone. Callie was making breakfast when Marie came home. Marie looked a bit surprised to see Callie up and about, but greeted her friend in stride. "Mornin', mornin'." Same old Marie, Callie thought. While they ate, Callie invited Marie to go shopping, and she gladly accepted. Chapter 4. How long had it been since they'd visited Arowana Mall together in their free time? They wandered past new stores and some of their old favorites, enjoying the leisure of window shopping. After checking out all the spots they were interested in, they'd worked up quite an appetite and stopped at a cafe for lunch. Callie ordered a burger, Marie a slice of pizza. At times like this, talk turned naturally to the work they'd each been doing lately. They swapped stories of workplace happenings and gossiped about their co-stars. Each was concerned for the other, but neither wanted to darken the mood by discussing anything too serious. Callie decided to mention that she'd seen Marie at the cafe that morning. Marie seemed a bit caught off guard, but began talking about her conversation with crusty Sean without missing a beat. It seemed Sean had recently quit his job at Shrimp Kicks. He'd been the store manager there for years, but had long dreamt of opening a place of his own. A friend introduced a new opportunity, and Sean went for it. "I hope he'll be okay," Marie said with some concern. "He's always been a bit impulsive." According to crusty Sean, Annie had been looking for a new gig as well. Truth be told, she'd never been much of a people anemone and felt like she'd given retail the old college try. She'd been keeping busy recently, helping decorate weapons at ammo nights. The more she did it, the more she felt like this detail-oriented part-time job suited her perfectly. "Do you think Annie and Sheldon?" Callie blurted out in excitement. "No way," Marie said, smiling. "Not a chance." It turns out Sheldon was busy himself, planning to expand ammo nights to a second location. He had his eyes on a prime spot in the part of town that was quickly becoming the new hotness for the Turf War set. "That Sheldon has always had a nose for business," the girls agreed. The conversation turned to Captain Cuttlefish, more precisely that neither of them had seen him lately. It was true that their schedules had kept them too busy to pay him a proper visit, but they hadn't seen his head poke out of the usual manhole recently either. There was no real cause for alarm now that the Octarians had gone tame, and thinking of their grandfather gave them a good laugh. Surely the old rascal would turn up sooner or later. They got lost in conversation and time slipped away. When they noticed the sun beginning to set, Callie and Marie decided to head for home. They remembered just how much fun they always had when they were together. Fun didn't quite do it justice, though. It was more than that, something special that made their hearts feel full. They felt as though the clouds that had been gathering around them had suddenly blown clear.